Hello guys, Joe Shew here from Crypto Consulting Institute, and today I'm excited to be jumping on the webinar with you to teach you about the future of cryptocurrency and how to really minimize your risk and maximize your returns in the space. So as you can see, I've been fortunate enough to speak at a number of events across Australia, and now I'm heading to speak at an event in London with Barclays Bank, which would be quite fun. So I've been on Dollars with Sense TV, speaking on CBN Live as well, and on panels at different events. And it's a very fast-paced, changing environment, and it's really interesting to see how things are rolling out. So I look forward to being on this webinar with you today and talking to you about all my learnings from the last 4 years and really helping you guys to take things to the next level and understand the space. So, why are you guys here? I know this is a webinar, but I want to make it as interactive as possible. So, a good question to ask yourself, and take a second to even write it down. Why are you guys here, and what outcome are you looking for from this webinar? Because this is when it starts to really take shape, when you start to put things into place and you understand what your motivations are behind doing something to help you get the outcome that you really desire. So, what will we learn today? Firstly, I'll be talking through blockchain and cryptocurrency and why it's really revolutionizing not just finance as we know it, but all sectors across the world. And we'll also touch on the 5-step process to actually creating wealth in cryptocurrencies safely. So, one thing to mention, there is nothing to buy here today. This isn't like most webinars that you jump on where they run through, they tell you some stuff, and then at the end they give you a massive discount and they get you to sign up. It's not the way that I like to run my business over here. So if you do have any questions or you want to understand what it looks like to come on board and work with me, simply check in with a message on the button below, and there is an application process to go through to come on board and work with me. So we can open up a discussion around that. Now, this is all about the fastest path to actually creating wealth in cryptocurrency. So I want to tell you how you can start making finance and creating the future that you want right now, rather than invest in things that may be great in 4 or 5 years' time. But the most important thing that you'll hear me talk about again and again is minimizing risk and safety in the space. So a question for you guys, because something that I never saw possible when I was working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. most days in my 5-day, sometimes even 6-day a week job in the city, is I didn't think I'd be able to have the freedom to go away on holidays and travel around the world. This was actually really scary, the Nevis bungee jump over in New Zealand. But having the ability to travel when I want and where I want at any point in time. And this is something that I want to open you up to, I guess, and your mindset to. You can have exactly what you want, and cryptocurrency is the way that I saw to create that wealth to give me exactly what I wanted in the future. So the most important thing to me is family. So you can see little James in the bottom left-hand corner, who's now 3 months old. It gave me the ability to travel the world with my family and spend time with them. And they are the people that matter most to me. So having that opportunity, instead of not being able to give them time, I spend as much time as I want now over in London or here in Melbourne, spending time with my family. So that's really cool. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the truth, because everyone's painting a pretty picture of cryptocurrency right now, and they're telling you how great it is, how much money can be made in it, but they're not really going through the real things that are happening in the space. First and foremost, and it comes back to safety, 23%, which is roughly 26 billion, just over US dollars, have been lost forever with just Bitcoin alone. There's over 2,000 coins now, so you can imagine the amount of finances people have lost through mismanaging their cryptocurrencies, which is huge. Another big problem was the amount of scams. So crypto, I guess, is everything people don't know about finance and technology combined. So it makes it an easy position for people to take advantage of people that want to make money, but they haven't done the education and got up to speed with the knowledge. So they're putting out a lot of fake or coins that aren't even going to ever be anything. And 80% last year was the case, which is really quite devastating. Making expensive investment decisions. The amount of people that I see right now that are investing at the wrong times into the market or selling at the wrong time, buying at the wrong time, it's important to really understand market cycles based on historical events and when and where to invest your money into. And that ties really nicely into not having strategies, because if you are just investing and you don't have a strategic move into the market and understand when you're going to exit, that will have a big impact on your, profit that you will actually be able to create in the space. And the final point is a lot of people will be sitting on the sidelines, waiting to invest, waiting for the right time. And they would have probably waited in past opportunities, and they'll probably wait again in future opportunities. There has never been an easier time to create wealth than right now. 4,000% the cryptocurrency market increased last year, which is 15 times over any other market performance in the world, period. So as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity, but there are still a lot of risks in the space. So 3 main trends that I'm seeing right now in the market. Firstly, day traders. There's been a huge movement towards day trading, and for someone that's extremely experienced in day trading from foreign currency, commodities, etc., this is a great market because it is extremely volatile. When you understand how to trade, it's very effective. I've also heard of a lot of new people getting in the space because they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme, and not having the proper education and knowledge of how to day trade, and listening to potential influencers in the market that aren't actually backing it anything up with results. So do be careful if you do decide to day trade. What's your knowledge, experience, and who are you actually listening to give you that guidance? The second thing is technical developers. So like the internet when it was first born, there's a lot of new languages that are being created, and similar with the world of blockchain, there's a lot of new people developing now on blockchains and creating blockchains, which is really exciting. Third and foremost is the value investors. These are the people that are getting educated, and they're the people that are making the right decisions in terms of when to enter, when to exit the market, and getting some really awesome results, not only financially, but freedom as well. So, what is blockchain? There's a lot of different ways to describe it and a lot of technical ways to describe it, but the easiest way to explain it is it's a decentralized, distributed database. So what that actually means is, imagine you walk into an accountant office and they have a database of credits and debits. It's very similar to that. It's stored, but the difference is here, the information is stored available for the public to see. Anyone can have access to the information, which is extremely beneficial, and I'll talk about why. All transactions that are recorded on the blockchain are immutable, so they cannot be undone at any point, which is really important for trust to be built inside of the network. And here we go, trust again. It's how can you connect multiple people for some form of transaction, not only financial, but it might be the transference of an asset. And how do you get multiple people involved in that transaction without the need for third parties? So third parties from real estate, from Facebook, from Uber, these platforms, eBay, that sit in the middle and take a cut when you don't actually need that now with blockchain technology, which is really cool. And it eliminates double spending. So getting back into DigiCash, which was one of the first digital cash or digital monies created on the internet, that had an issue of people being able to double spend. What double spend means, imagine you go into a cafe, and if you were to go into a cafe with a $10 note, and you spend that $10, you cannot re-spend that. With blockchain, you cannot re-spend your digital money, and that was an issue that earlier digital currencies had, and which is completely solved with blockchain technology, which is really cool. So decentralization, it is a bit of a buzzword now, but this is why, 7 reasons why it's so important and what it's really bringing to us and our futures. And that's all through blockchain technology. So firstly, no intermediary delays, or it gives you the ability to provide or have a settlement done immediately, which is really interesting when you think about transacting and sending finance into overseas or even interstate. It takes time. The bank goes through a process and they receive the funds, and sometimes they charge a fee, especially if you're sending overseas or if you're transferring assets. There's a time delay, so this speeds up that process, which is awesome. Trust is built inside the network. It's owned and operated and managed by people that run part of the network, which is called a full node. So they have the ability to authorize transactions, which is really effective, but also for businesses here. So if someone has the ability to see identification and upfront reputation because everything's stored on the blockchain, then that gives transparency, which helps businesses which have fantastic reputation, but also from a customer's point of view, you can see how that business is performing with their customers, with past customers, to see if if they're good to trade with, if they're safe and they comply with regulations, etc. Resilience against attacks. So as I mentioned, the network is decentralized. Therefore, you can't pull the plug because there's so many different people. Over 10,000 now full nodes are running on the Bitcoin. So if you shut one down, it doesn't matter because there's still another 9,999 running the network. Also, if you pull the plug on a complete country, like say the UK, that still wouldn't have an impact because the rest of the network can still run. So that provides resilience against attacks. But also you think about a bank. Banks spend billions of dollars each year, or pounds, on cyber security. And that's because they are what's classed as a honeypot. Loads of people are storing their finances in one place. Therefore, where the hackers go, they go to one place. Whereas with cryptocurrency, everyone owns and manages their own finances within their own banks, if you effectively want to call it that. Therefore, the likelihood of someone individually getting attacked is far less than what one particular company that stores millions and millions of dollars or billions of dollars worth of people's assets. No central point of failure, I've touched on that. Governance decisions are made within the network and within the network's consensus. So what this means, instead of a few people at the top making a decision, the decision and votes go out to everyone that's running part of the network, and they get the opportunity to say, yes, I like this and approve it, or say, no, we don't like it for whatever reason. And that's how voting is done within a network. And the last point is peer-to-peer communication. So this now gives us the ability to communicate financial value with one person to another with no third party sitting in the middle, which is unbelievable. So we don't need banks to send money to someone anymore. We don't need a real estate agent to transfer or a lawyer to transfer assets. Therefore, think of all the cost saving that this can create for you or even your business. Not having someone not only to sit on a transaction and delay it, but also the transparency there that we have with blockchain technology, which is fantastic, but it will save businesses a lot of money too, and individuals. So what industries are actually being affected right now? Anything that is a third-party business. So as I've touched on, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all these platforms, Uber, eBay, they're all third-party platforms where they are controlling and managing everything and charging fees for doing so. So here's 8 businesses that are all multi-billion dollar businesses that are heavily investing either put in patents, so Bank of America are one of the highest patents on credit for blockchain technology in the world. We've got Bank of China, JP Morgan, so Jamie Dimon, some of you may recall that he spoke out against Bitcoin, and now blockchain technology is heavily integrated into JP Morgan, which is one of the largest financial institutions in the world. We've got Apple, Microsoft have been accepting Bitcoin as payment since 2014. Berkshire Hathaway, run by Warren Buffett. So there's some of the biggest names in the world are now integrating blockchain technology into their businesses, which is really cool. So, Internet 2.0. This is what blockchain technology is now being called. So, one thing that I do want you to really think about here is with the internet, there was 4 major dimensional shifts. The first one was internet-only companies were created, which changed customer behavior. No longer did you need to spend time traveling to the shopping mall when you can simply sit online and buy, or you can book an Airbnb, say, or you can communicate with people instead of sending a pigeon and tying a note to its ankle across the world. Now we can just do it all online through email. So it started to create new ways of customers behaving, which is really important. Government adoption. 20 years ago, or just over, when the internet didn't exist, did the government ever use the internet? No way. They were so adverse to it. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what it was. It was a new discovery. And they were standing on the sideline waiting for more development, more regulation, more understanding. And now imagine any government in the world that doesn't use the internet. I don't know of one. If you do, then do let me know. But you can see the transition there with the internet. Industries were radically changed. So a lot of businesses moved online. And now we have it. I don't know of any company that doesn't have some form of online presence to attract customers, because now we can operate globally rather than going to see Jack at the local hardware store to go and get a shovel. You can go and buy that online, which creates cheaper prices, but also more competition, which is interesting. And web-based developers were a staple when it was first being developed, and they still are today with your .NET, your Java, and different languages creating, developing, and building on the internet, which is really cool. 10 years from now, can we replace the word internet for blockchain? So this is something we're starting to see the developments of. I've already showed you some of the largest companies in the world that are currently using and integrating blockchain. So the space is rapidly moving because of the internet. The internet is an exchange of information. Therefore, if everyone's got access and knowledge to this, that means the process is going to be sped up tenfold. And that's why we say 10 years, but it is already even sooner than that. 74% of Australians now know what Bitcoin is. And the process of that came about extremely quickly. So we're starting to see more global awareness and adoption of cryptocurrencies and the technologies. So a question for you, what are cryptocurrencies? There's so many different, versions of what you can call this, and I've touched on it before. It's really everything people don't know about finance and technology combined. But what it really is, in simple terms, is digital money. So instead of your physical money, we've now moved to a digital realm and a digital revolution. And that's the best way and the easiest way to describe it. So we've got Bitcoin, which was one of the earlier coins, or the first coin, should I say. And then we have alternative coins. All that means is every coin that's now created is called an altcoin because it's an alternative to Bitcoin. That's where the altcoin saying comes from. Built on the blockchain, it's all decentralized. So all cryptocurrencies use a blockchain to power them. It's one of the technologies that they're on, making it fully decentralized. And that really gives all the benefits, the 7 major benefits that I spoke about before. What's really cool with cryptocurrencies, they're an inflationary currency. One of the biggest issues that we have right now with our modern day currency, pounds, sterling, yen, dollars, is they are doing something which is called quantitative easing. They keep printing more and more. There is no limit to the supply. Whereas with cryptocurrencies, there is a finite amount, very similar to gold. There's a finite amount that's ever going into circulation of particular coins. Therefore, you cannot go and create more. If you can't go and create more of a particular currency and the demand for that currency goes up, that is when the price will increase. That isn't possible in dollars, pounds, etc., because they can continue to supply, making it a deflationary currency. What's really cool is I can travel the world now and I can spend my Bitcoin in anywhere across the world. There's 280,000 merchants in Japan that accept Bitcoin as a way of payment. It's being rolled out more and more across Australia, and I'm sure in other parts of the world now as too. So instead of going and taking my Australian dollars and exchanging it to Great British pounds when I fly to London, I can just take my Bitcoin and spend and live off of Bitcoin, making it a global currency because I don't have to trade it for something else in order to spend it. I can spend it here in Australia, I can spend it in the North Pole if there was an option to, or in London, here, there, and everywhere. So, I get asked this question again and again, so I wanted to share with you guys what it really takes to be successful in terms of investing into cryptocurrencies. The first and foremost thing, and I won't go too deep into this, but it is the foundational pillar, which is our mindset. So when I say mindset, it's the rule of 80-20. So 80% stems from us in our mind and the way that we invest and the way that we interact with the markets, and 20% is strategy. So I want to touch on three major shifts that people, and I'll explain how it works and what people have gone through. First and foremost, emotion. If you are an emotional investor, i.e. you don't want to miss out on the opportunity, so you invest when everyone else is investing into the market, which is typically at the peak price, as we saw in November, December, January. And a lot of people have now sold at the lower points, meaning they've made a colossal loss. They are following what everyone else is doing in the market. They emotionally invested, they're emotionally sold, therefore they have emotionally made a huge financial loss. Rather than having a strategy of, okay, what's happening in the market, what's everyone else doing at this point, what does this mean for me? Is it a good strategy to sell now? What is my buy point? What is my sell point? Even before I even enter into the market. And this can be short, medium, and long-term strategies. This isn't necessarily for day trading that I'm talking about. This could be trading over a week. This could be trading over 10 years. Understanding market cycles and timings and using strategy rather than emotion will really help you to position yourself well. The next one, awareness versus ignorance, and it ties really nicely into the point that I just made. If people were aware of what happened in historical events where the market goes through cycles, they would have known that what was about to happen next was a big dip or a big overcorrection. And this is what we saw. But if you weren't aware of the market or you weren't aware of what people were saying and you were ignorant to this, then this doesn't really put you in a good position to create wealth. So it's about being aware rather than ignorant and turning a blind eye to what's happening. But third and finally with this is education versus speculation. If you aren't educated on anything that you're investing in, you're making a speculative play. Therefore, you're probably better off going down the casino and putting all your money on red. If you get educated, this puts you in the best position to not only minimize your risk, but really maximize your returns. Foundation pillar number 2 is safety, risk management, and we always go to this. I want to know how I can store my cryptocurrency before I even buy. There's a number of other risk minimization strategies that I talk about with my long-term clients, but this is something that I really want to touch on for now. So online versus offline storage. how do you actually store your cryptocurrency? The easiest way to think about it, is it connected to the internet or is it not? That is the difference between online and offline. So I'll touch on 4 main ways that you can actually store your cryptocurrency right now. It's not to say that there is one method that's better than the other. It's understanding what is the best method for you. And I'll touch on a bit of this right now. The first is exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges. So some people leave their their crypto wealth on a exchange. To put this in perspective, it's potentially great for short term because you can get your money on and off very quickly. You can exchange into other currencies very quickly. The downsides are there's been over 3 dozen cases. Remember, I touched on the banks before. Exchanges are like a bank as such. They're allowing people to trade. If a lot of people are trading in one place, that means they are creating a honeypot and they're susceptible to hacking because there's a lot of finances going through the exchange. There's been over 3 dozen cases of cryptocurrency exchanges being hacked, which is quite a significant number. We're talking about fraudulent activity as well. So great for short term, great for quick transactions, but highly recommend that you do pull your wealth off of a cryptocurrency exchange for even the mid to long term storage. The next type that we will touch on now is the software wallet. So the software wallet is either on your phone or on your desktop, or it might be on your laptop. And why I like the software wallet is from an exchange, you actually start to own and manage your cryptocurrencies. On an exchange, you don't manage and you don't own your cryptocurrency private key, which means you don't own your cryptocurrency. With a software wallet, you actually own your cryptocurrency and you store it, you manage it. So that gives you ownership of your cryptocurrency. So it's the next layer of security. Now, as I said, I travel around the world and I like to spend my Bitcoin here and there where I go. Therefore, this is a great way to transport it. Easily used on my phone, I can scan someone else's QR code to send them funds. So it's really easy to use. They do come with a backup. So if you lost your phone, then you're able to download a new app and then put in what's called a seed. And that will give you access to your funds again, which is really cool. So there's great sides to this, and there's also downsides. I wouldn't be storing large amounts necessarily on here. This is just for your more day-to-day usage, which is really great and it's fun. And I like to send people a lot of cryptocurrencies when I do live workshops and talks. So it's great to get people interacting and up to speed with this. The next type is paper storage. So as you can see, it says your address. That's what's called your public key. Public key means the public can see. Therefore, so I do a lot of content online and I'm happy to share my public key so people can send me and donate funds for the value that I'm sharing. Your private key, as you can see below, that is something that's private to you. You do not want to share it to anyone. Paper storage is great because it's free. You can simply download one right now at bitcoinpaperwallet.com to see what it looks like. They do it in Ethereum as well, and I believe other coins too. As you can see, there are problems. One, it's paper. I know of someone personally who lost over $1 million worth of Bitcoin because they stored their paper wallet in a fireproof safe, which was in their basement, and their basement flooded, and it turned from a paper storage wallet to paper mache. And that is it, it's gone. You can make multiple copies, but as you can see, all of your information is accessible on here. So if someone was to find this, they can withdraw your funds off of there, which obviously creates an issue. So do be aware of the limitations. You can go to the lengths of cutting these up and spreading them in different locations. I know the Winklevoss twins, who had over $1 billion of Bitcoin at one point, had a paper wallet, and that's how they did it. They cut it up and spread it across the world. You can go to that extent if you want. You start taking storage seriously, the more wealth you start to create in cryptocurrency. And fourth and final is the hardware wallet. So this is called a Ledger Nano S, and here you can manage and store all your cryptocurrencies. The positive of this, it comes, as you can see, with a PIN to actually access your cryptocurrency wallet. So it's an added layer of security and protection. These are great because you can plug them into any device and you cannot get a bug or they cannot be corrupted, which is fantastic. They're really easy and friendly to use now. They plug into other software, which is great. Downsides, they cost about 150 Australian dollars to purchase. They do come again with a backup security, 24 words now. So if you were to lose them, then you can use your seed, the 24 words, buy a new one and reinstall and upload your code on there to gain access to your funds again, which is really cool. So a question for you, are you now more confident that you understand the different ways to store your digital assets? Because this is without a doubt one of the most important things. If you don't know how to store your digital currency, then that's a worry and a concern because you can quite easily lose it. And if you lose it, there's no hotline to call to say, excuse me, I've lost it, can you help out? It generally means that it's gone into the abyss. The amount of messages that I scarily receive, can you help me? And a lot of the time is no, it's the honest answer, I can't. You've mismanaged your cryptocurrency and you've become part of the statistic of people that are losing their funds, which is scary. So pillar 3, buying and selling. How do you actually buy and sell your cryptocurrency? So there are a number of ways that you can do this through decentralized exchanges or switching platforms. But I'll talk through 2 of the main ways that you can actually buy and sell right now today. First and foremost is the cryptocurrency exchanges that we've touched on before. And as I've said, there are challenges with this. Not only are they being hacked and tampered with fraudulently from the members, you can have a look at Mt. Gox, 750,000 Bitcoins were stolen. CoinCheck, $500 million worth of NEM disappeared. So there's a lot of challenges in the space, but they're very easy to access. So anyone could jump on a cryptocurrency exchange right now, exchange your fiat, which is pounds, dollars, whatever, into a cryptocurrency. And you can also exchange from one, say, Bitcoin to another Ethereum on the platforms. You can access it on your phone, very easy to do. So it's great for switching, short term, move your cryptocurrency off the exchange once you've done the transaction. What I would say about exchanges are, as you can see, they're pretty complex to use, okay? And if there's added complexity, what does that mean? It means that there's challenges for the day-to-day person to use them and potential mistakes. So do think about this when you consider using an exchange. But not only that, you have to upload your ID, so photo ID verification in order to use them for the majority of them. This does, to me, kind of undermine why cryptocurrency and Bitcoin was created. It's for peer-to-peer transactions, removes the need for third party. These guys are a third party, they're making money off the exchanges. So do be aware of not only the positives, but also the challenges and the downsides to using a cryptocurrency exchange. So the second way that I want to talk about is peer-to-peer. So this is literally, if I was to go and meet someone, I've got a network of buyers and sellers, and if I want to sell some Bitcoin, I can go and do it in person, or you can do it online. So I used to send cash to someone and they would send the Bitcoin back to me. And why that might sound a little bit alarming, you can use a platform called localbitcoins.com. And on there, please do check the ratings of people that you're considering doing transactions with, and also look at their requirements as well. I would only ever recommend using some that has 100% feedback and they've done well over 100 transactions in the past. That will give you confidence to go and transact. If you do decide to go and do it in peer-to-peer, in person, there's risks with this. So if they've got a minimum of $500, go and do $500 with them first, build a relationship with them, and then you can start to move more money into the market. I'd recommend using this process rather than dumping a lot of money and having any potential problems. One thing I do want to say, this is not a Bitcoin, okay? If anyone ever tries selling you a Bitcoin like this, it's fake. If anyone ever tries calling you from Bitcoin, it's fake. So it's digital code. Do be aware of this when you are doing those transactions there. Who is now more confident that they actually know how they can exchange their dollars, pounds into a cryptocurrency, but also switch one cryptocurrency from another? Awesome. So let's jump into pillar 4 now, which is the value investor strategy. So I'll touch on one strategy. We spoke about market cycles. This is nothing new. The Wall Street cheat sheet will show and demonstrate this for you. As you can see, there's 14 emotional states that investors typically go through. And I can almost draw on the chart here because it's, again, something that's happened again and again and again. Look at the .com, look at cryptocurrency. If we look at thrill, that was December. If we look at euphoria, that was January. And then we started moving through February, March, April, down into panic, where a lot of people started to sell. They bought at the peak because everyone else was making loads of money in it and they didn't want to miss out. And then they sold when typically the lower points were. Or they're using what they called HODL, hold on for dear life, in the hope that it means that it's going to go back up in value. To me, that just means they had a lack of strategy around when they bought and when they didn't sell. So do be aware how important strategy really is when investing. So as you can see, the top right, they talk about the peak being the point of maximum financial risk. And that is when there's consensus in the market of this has got great value and everyone's excited about it. That is when I start to get concerned, okay? When there's a lot of hype, when there's a lot of excitement, that's when I start to look to sell. On the flip side, when is the maximum opportunity? It's when everyone else has negative market thoughts or there's negative sentiment towards cryptocurrency, and that is when there's the maximum point of financial opportunity. So, this is potentially a cryptocurrency microcycle. And if you look at the chart there, it looks extremely similar to the graph that I just showed you. So back in 2014, you'll see there's a tiny little dip, and that was when Bitcoin went up to being worth $1,136 based on the Cypriot bank bailout, when they were charging people 30% of anything they stored in the bank to pay off and bail out the banks, which obviously is a bit of a challenge and quite unethical, I believe, from that standpoint. But that's what led to a microcycle, then a mass surge of people moving into Bitcoin because they wanted to store it in a different way because they lost faith in the government, they lost faith in the banks, and they created more value and belief that cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin in particular, was a great way to store for the long-term value. So I say this is a microcycle because at its peak it went up to being worth 820 billion, and you'll now see why I say that's a microcycle, and it's because the internet also went through a microcycle of when it had a peak. The difference is the internet microcycle, the .com boom as we know it in 2000, went to being worth $3.7 trillion. Look at the comparison there. If that was in today's money, the value of that is a lot more than 3.7 trillion. So you can see how this is just a tiny peak in the potential opportunity for the long term. This is very interesting, the next slide, how there's 7 companies now, internet companies, that are worth over 5 trillion now, with Apple being the first $1 trillion company, which is really exciting through the internet. So you can see how the entire industry of the internet companies at one point was worth 3.7 trillion. Now 7 companies are worth far exceed the value of the dot-com boom when all of the companies are only worth 7 trillion. Now 7 companies are worth 5 trillion, which is really interesting to see. So, understanding market cycles and timing of when to invest, why to invest based on historical events is really interesting to see. Look at tulip mania as well. And this isn't the first time we've been through market cycles, and that's a great example of another one. So what defines a winning coin? So why might you want to invest into a particular coin? So I'll touch on now some strategies and blueprints that you might want to start to think about before you actually invest into a coin. Before we touch on that, I just want to give you a very quick overview of the ICO, initial coin offering space. For any of you that don't know what an ICO is, very similar to an IPO, initial public offering. So when a business creates funds, generates funding, and then they list publicly. So same as an ICO, they create funds from public and now private more so, and then they launch into market. So that's what an ICO is. This is outdated. Now it's crazy. I have to update these charts all the time, and it blows my mind every time that I go in to understand the new stats. It's moving at such a crazy pace. Okay, there's so many changes, not only within cryptocurrencies, but the amount of new coins that are being created. It was 1,889 on the 24th of October. We're well over 2,100 now, which is insane. We're looking at 904 ICOs in 2018, which is nearly triple what happened last year and a hell of a lot more than 2016. So there's a lot of money being put into cryptocurrency still and into the market. A lot of development happening, a lot of new discoveries, and a lot of changes which are being presented through the challenges that we are now understanding more and more as time rolls on. So what's really exciting is people think about cryptocurrencies, they think Bitcoin, finance, it's all finance related. There's over 2 pages here that you can see why cryptocurrencies are being developed, from real estate through to infrastructure. So One Belt, One Road is a project in China, and they are using a cryptocurrency to power that. That's $1 trillion infrastructure project. So it's not just finance. This is across all areas. We'll start to see charities creating their own coins because of blockchain. So you can upload all the information on there, remove third parties, not only increasing the amount of dollar for dollar that goes to the end person that really needs it, but all the transaction, all the information is publicly available to see, which is fantastic. So developments in social media, all different industries right now, which is really cool. So something that myself and my clients use when investing into cryptocurrencies is the target system. And why they use a target system is because it defines the difference between, in my opinion, really successful companies and not. A great example of this is Simon Sinek, who uses this as apt example. He does a comparison between Apple and Dell in terms of the companies. Dell sells computers. They tell you about what they do and that's it. Apple sells a vision of the future and what they're really doing for people and the design, the excitement behind it. That's why they're $1 trillion company, okay? That is the difference. If there's a compelling story that people really take hold of and buy into, that is going to help with marketing. That's going to help with onboard. That's going to help attract investors. Steps in order to deliver it is the next point. How they're actually going to deliver it. And we'll touch on team and roadmap shortly. But big picture, what are they trying to achieve? Okay, is it something that is achievable right now, or is it something that's for driverless cars in the future, empowering them so they can stay on the road 24/7? What's the relevance right here, right now, in terms of how quickly can you get a return? So something that I use is a 3-step ICO rating overview, and this can be used for coins as well. So first, it's very important, I spoke about hype before. So if there is no hype behind a coin, no one's going to invest in it, no one's going to know about it. Okay, so when we think of hype, how well has the company actually marketed that coin? Are they in mainstream? Do people know about it? What's happening right now is people are creating fantastic coins, but no one knows about them. Therefore, no one's going to invest in them when they do come to that opportunity where people can. The next thing you want to think about is risk. So this is a new paradigm shift. Therefore, it's challenging the way that we currently did things or currently are doing things. Therefore, it challenges regulation, it challenges legislation. So therefore, it means there's going to be restrictions behind this. If there are restrictions, then what does this actually mean for the coin that's looking to launch in a certain industry? Okay, so when we think about that, if that's going to have a negative impact, it's going to affect the price, or it's going to affect the ability for the company to have longevity in the market. And that's why so many coins are failing, because they're not thinking about how can they integrate our current world into the future of cryptocurrency. Third and final is return on investment. You want to know what your return on investment is actually going to be as you go down the risk levels of what you're actually investing in. ICO stage, high risk, high return is what you want. And that's what you want to start working into your strategy. So as we can see, this is an overlay. There's a perfect dot in the middle. I call it an upside down triangle because that's what it looks like. That is the sweet spot. When you get an overlap of all three, that is when you start to consider the coin in a bit more depth. So something I've run through with my long-term clients is a 12-step ICO blueprint, or for coins as well. Now, I'm not going to be irresponsible and share all of that information because I've got long-term clients who have committed to me for it, but I do want to share some of the points that are really important. And the first one is team. This is different in terms of we're going through a new shift and people are promising a lot but not delivering, okay? So why I say that is you need to understand who is the team behind it actually powering the project. Are they going to be able to deliver on all that they've promised, okay? Because we're seeing people that are launching projects into new industries that they have no idea about because they think they can make money in it. When you compare that to people that have 20 years, like Power Ledger, David over there, the CEO, 20 years in the energy sector, and now he's pairing with and partnering with other people that have blockchain technology knowledge, and that's why it created so much hype, and that's why it created so much value, going from 3 cents to over $1 at one point. Who's the investors? Who are actually backing the projects as well? That's very important to know and understand. Also, sorry for jumping forward there, what we want to look at as well, the community. This is a great way to tell if a coin is a scam or not. If there's no community, then that's a general indicator that there's no one working at the company. So start to look on social media platforms, not only for information to make it a worthwhile investment, but also what's happening in the community. Are the leaders within the business, within the people that are creating the ICOs, interacting with customers? Are they actually helping and answering questions? So that's something that you want to start thinking about. But third and finally is it a real world user case, and is it something that can be used right now? Again, I spoke about turnaround driverless cars. It's a great idea for the future. DAV token, I believe that was called, but can you actually create wealth in this right here, right now, to make it a viable investment for now rather than the future? So start to think about, is this actually a coin that delivers something, or is it just a great idea? When you get this right, you can start to see the potential returns that you can receive in the space. That's why I talk about it's never been easier to create wealth, but there's also a lot of challenges and risks to this. And I'll touch on these again, just so people are clear, because a lot of people got excited and they jumped in head first to buy, and they didn't even know how to store, they didn't know what they were buying, and then they wonder why the majority of the market are actually losing money in cryptocurrencies, and these are some of the basic reasons why. Right now, 46% of ICOs in 2017 have failed. You can go on deadcoins.com and look for yourself. That number has increased. 55% in Q2 of ICOs failed. So that makes it extremely risky when you don't know what you're doing. The next point, 80% have touched on this, of ICOs last year were a scam, which makes it extremely challenging for people that want to create wealth in this to actually make wealth in it. And as I've said, there's a lot of fraudulent activity and hacking's happening. 10% of all money invested into ICOs last year went into the hands of thieves when they were using Ethereum, which is quite scary. So on the flip side, when you do get it right, when you invest into some coins that are that have a future and are really exciting, this is a great example. OneChain, so listed in the market 24th of March this year, $4.37. It went up to being over $10 at one point, which is really cool. As you can see, 62% gain was made in 7 weeks, which is a pretty good return. If you think a house, if you do well over a year, your yield might be 6-7%. We're talking about that a week, more than that a week in cryptocurrencies. So if you think that's cool, this is where the money was really made. As you can see, 21x. So 34 cents was the ICO price. If you were buying in then, and obviously selling at this point, which was $7, you're 21x in. That means if you invest $10,000 or pounds, that is $210,000 or pounds. So you can see the opportunity here is huge when you know what to invest in. So a question for you, do you think right now with the right support, you could personally create wealth in cryptocurrencies whilst minimizing your risk at the same time? Question, would you like help actually creating wealth in cryptocurrency and minimizing your risk at the same time? So this is something, if you want to shoot a message below, we can see if there is an alignment for us to work together, and we can take it forward from there. The opportunity is there. I've got a number of long-term clients who I'll show you right now who are getting some pretty cool results. So this opportunity is available to everyone. Now, one thing I learned over the years is rather than going off in the wrong direction, trying to do things myself, making the mistakes like I said I made when I first started 4 years ago, of investing into the wrong coins or mismanaging my portfolios, if you find someone that's done something that you want to achieve, you go and find them as a mentor. It gives you the shortcut to success. And that is something I'm a big believer in. I've always got mentors who I'm heavily investing into, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, so I don't make the wrong mistakes financially or with my time, which is the most valuable commodity that we have. So you might be thinking, who is this for? Is this something that I should really be doing? So question for you, is this what you are looking for right now? Are you looking to travel the world, and are you looking to go on holidays when you want? Where will you go? What is think of destinations right now. What 3 destinations, if you had the opportunity to, where would you go? Because this is available to all of us right now. That's one of my hangouts, which is really cool, over in Vaucluse, awesome part up in sunny Sydney. So you can hang out, you can go where you want, do what you want, when you have the right strategies and process. But more importantly, who would you spend your time with? Because finance gives you freedom of time, which is our most valuable commodity, as I said. For me, I wanted to see little James grow up, and I want to spend a lot of time with him. Now we've got the ability to do that, and so can everyone else too. So, and you can see my family over there, which is really cool, over in sunny London that was. Now, this is one of my clients who sent me a screenshot, and it's obviously very private. I don't receive a lot of screenshots because the whole point of this is privacy too. But it's really cool when they check in and they show me some cool results that they're getting with our investments. And these are US dollars, so it's a six-figure amount, which is a good start. It's a good outcome. Here's another client I worked with who started creating wealth in cryptocurrency, which is really cool. And this was a day that I spent with him, helping him move his assets to a digital ledger so that he could store for the long term rather than leave it on a crypto exchange. I always like to show this to my dad, and hopefully he's not watching, because he started creating some cool finance in the world of cryptocurrency, and he was very technologically averse, banging on the keyboard with his index fingers. So if he can implement the strategies, it's accessible to anyone. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. And this is one of the cool months that I had, which it can change your life in a month, or it was less than a month, as you can see, when you have the right process behind what you're doing. So I've hung out with a number of clients, from some of the leading entrepreneurs in Australia to mums of three to high-paid consultants. So I've worked with all different demographics, all different ages. So there's no limitation to your opportunity here. It's what I'm trying to invite you into. So if you want to avoid mismanaging your digital assets and becoming part of the statistics, if you want to avoid making all those costly investment decisions that a lot of people right now still are in the market and have done in the past, if you want to avoid being part of the statistic of the amount of people that are getting scammed through investing into the wrong ICOs or other things, I hear of a number of stories outside of this. And if you want to not miss out or miss the bus, as people say, on some potential life-changing opportunities, simply check in with the message now on the link below, and we can see if there's an alignment for us to work together. So a big thank you for you tuning in and listening. I'm sure you've got a lot of value out of this. Any questions, as I said, do check in with a message and we can take things from there. But I wish you well on your cryptocurrency journey. And again, from Joe here at Crypto Consulting Institute, thank you for tuning in and thank you for your time. All the best, guys.